Hi everyone, it's Anna from the Heart Beehive. Today, I'm dealing with some crazy hair that's just like really out there. I don't know. I think it's the hard water in my house. I'm in my car again. I'm actually at a park and in the back seat. Sometimes I just come to a park to think and reflect on things, and yeah, that's usually when I get the inspiration for these type of videos. Um, So my coaching style is similar, but I'm usually tailoring everything to you and what's going on in your life. I do these videos as reminders to myself as I navigate my own life and my own challenges as an artist and creative person. So today I want to talk about resistance and change. But before I do that, I am a coach for creative people. I help you understand your own energy and your timeline, your biggest desires and goals, and I help you map out and understand, well, how am I going to reach that? Either by having lasting transformational change that takes a lot of work, but got somebody, a coach with me to do that. Um, or how am I going to become the next iteration of who I am and navigate the challenges that I have in life? So maybe it's not about reaching a goal per se, it's more about becoming, right? So whatever feels good for you, you'll know. All right, so got that out of the way. You can find my website somewhere around here and book a free call if you want to talk. All right, so friction, resistance, let's call it. Let's talk about the concept of friction first. So friction is anything that stands in the way of you and something else. So some people might mistake friction for tension. Tension and contrast is necessary sometimes to have a resolution and a reward when it comes to, say, art making. And you have to have that contrast in order to move in different directions. Now, when tension becomes too much, too repetitive, then you know you're in a loop. Friction, on the other hand, can be identified, I think, pretty easily. And when you take the time to do that and problem solve, look for solutions of how to eliminate the friction and the root of whatever that is. So, one example of friction might be when you go to exercise, you can never find the right sports bra. I don't know, for women. It's like, I don't like that one, I don't like that one. Okay. So then you spend time thinking, I don't want to wear that. And you're wasting the time you could be already at the gym or already outside or already at the mat in your house doing the thing that you know is going to help you. Instead, you're spending time on these other things. So eliminating that friction, this is a physical example. I'll try to give a couple examples. Would be throwing away all the sports bras that you know you don't like. The stupid pads are just always coming out, or they like deformed, from the washer or whatever. And in getting yourself some sports bras that you really like, you're stoked to wear, they're easy to care for, that sort of thing. So that's one very specific example. Let's say there's lots of planes in this area. I'm sorry, just one moment. Okay, it's mostly gone. um, so friction. Let's look at some other examples, right? I have had experience with a lot of people that I've coached. I don't know if my eyes are really sensitive today. So I'm gonna leave these on. But I've had a lot of experience coaching creative people who are usually very neurodivergent, right? So their brains are not linear in necessarily in a lot of things that they do. It might be in one specific area that they're kind of like fixated on or focused on in the moment, and that can be really beautiful. But in general, their lives are they're very active and stimulating, and so friction inside of those environments, let's say you have many interests, right? But you can never find the supplies to continue on with that interest. And so when you think about it, you're like, yeah, but this, right? Yeah, but that. Okay, so that to me is a form of mental friction. So instead of focusing on the thing you want to do, you're looking at qualifiers. You're looking at reasons why there's something in the way of you doing the thing, right? Whereas if you think about, let's just say someone you admire, okay? And maybe they had an idea and everybody was like, I don't know, man, I don't know if you should do that. That sounds crazy, especially in this economy, like things like this, okay? And they went and did it anyway. And they were like, no matter what, I'm going to do it, and they weren't like just talking about it all the time. They were just doing it. Maybe they even disappeared for a little bit. People like that where they're just like working and doing the thing instead of talking about it and saying they're going to do it, right? So in their mind, they know that distractions and friction and having the friction of a qualifier for everything they do, I can only do this if that. Well, I was going to do this, but then this, right? Their mindset is a growth mindset, which says no matter what. They look at friction and they're like, I don't care. I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm doing it, right? So I've seen this with people who say they want to like visit, but then there's always a reason why they can't visit, okay? And that to me is a sign of their own mental friction. I'm a person who doesn't have that. When I want to do something and when I want to go somewhere, it's on. I will figure out a way. I will make allowances. I will compromise other things, even comforts, if it means that I'm aiming for something that I really know is a desire. Now, some people might see that as impulsive, right? But what it's really saying is that I'm confident enough in myself to go and do the thing, even though it might fail, even though I'm not really sure what's going to happen. And if you have a past pattern like that and you're no longer like that, you probably have realized this about yourself, that in order to become a high performer in whatever area, or very good at something, and to a certain extent more content with yourself, you have to decide that friction is not going to be a prominent aspect of your life. You have to decide that friction can off. You have to decide that and say, nope, I'm already this. I want to do that. I'm going to do that. I will do that. You're not going to put excuses in front of the things you want to do. You're going to say no matter what. Or, you know what, I can't do it today, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. And here's the ways that I'm going to reinforce that I will get it done tomorrow, that I will follow through on the thing. And there is a period of, I'll call it trial and error, where in your life you can go through that cycle of wanting to do something but never actually doing it for years. And you can sit in this loop, right? And try to plan and qualify and justify and even add more friction. Some people, they'll add stuff to their plate so that they're distracted. Well, I can't do it because I signed up for this, right? Whereas the person who's like no friction, they'll put a boundary up and say, no, I'm not doing that because I'm already doing this and I want to go deeper in that area. I want to become the person who is very good at X or has had the feedback and the realization and the depth of knowledge that comes with consistent action, consistent research, consistent practice. One group of people that I love in the aspect of friction and the guts that it takes to face friction is skateboarders. Skateboarders will see an obstacle and be stoked about it. They'll be actually scared, but also stoked. They're like, look at that thing I'm getting ready to jump over, or I'm getting ready to try this trick and it's probably not going to work out, but they still do it. They do it over and over and over and over and over until they get it, right? So it may not be that day, that week, that month, that year. It might take them an entire year to land a trick, right? That's difficult, or even a simple one if you're just starting out, but they continue to do it. And that is something that I think is really beautiful. That's just one example. Now, I am going to challenge you today to look at your life and maybe pick a couple of examples. One might be, what is an example of physical friction that I have placed in front of something that I want to do? So the example was like sports bras. Let's just say it's running and you can never find your running shoes because there's friction about where you put them after you're done. And maybe they always go in the same spot so that you don't have that friction. Or on your calendar, you got a marker that says run at this time. So the night before, you have a reminder that says find shoes. Then you lay them out, right? So enabling and empowering yourself, that is really important. That is very much part of eliminating friction. And the second example I want you to try to look for is the mental friction. Are you placing barriers in front of yourself to accomplish and or reach the goals that you have that you think no longer serve you? Maybe they're a barrier and a point of friction that's mental, that has to do with maybe like perfectionism, right? So I used to have that in making videos. I thought, oh, you need to look a certain way, you need to be dressed, a certain way, you got to have graphics and all that stuff, right? And I finally had to arrive at a point where I was like, oh, if I don't eliminate that friction that I've placed upon myself, those barriers to entry, then I will never actually make the videos. And I'm continually working on this sort of thing in other areas of my life. And, that is something that I personally have to continually work on and monitor, okay? Every once in a while, are you placing friction into your life that is unnecessary? And that's a really legit question. So I'm challenging you today to find 2 areas of friction in your life and to ask yourself that question. Am I placing friction in front of things that I really want to do, the person I want to become, unnecessarily? And the next step would be, what can I do? What's one thing I can do to eliminate that friction? All right, it's been a sweet hang. I will see you in the next video.